So they turned a blind eye, or they justified it, or they minimized it. And that's all you have to have people do. That's what, the banality of evil, right? So actually, I'd say the main emotion of Israelis towards Palestinians over the years has not been hatred. And when we frame it like, oh, there's hatred on both sides, that misses the point. What there is a complete and total ignorance, and an inability to see them, and a desire for them to just fucking disappear already. When will they leave us alone? The word I heard from Israelis over and over again when I lived there was not shalom, sheket. Sorry, not shalom, peace. It was sheket, quiet. That's all they want, just some peace and quiet. When are they just going to leave us? Just please, enough already, enough. It's denial. Now, when you deny another people, never mind their right to exist, but you deny their existence, now everything they do is an irritant to you. They're like flies that you have to swat. They're like cockroaches that you have to stomp. And that's the way Israeli leaders have spoken about Palestinians. And it resonates with Israelis because to Israelis, Palestinians have become the avatars for why they can't just live in peace and quiet. But peace and quiet is not peace. Peace and justice is peace.
Exactly.
And that's never been an option that's been sold to the Israeli public. Only peace and quiet, which will come with getting rid of the Palestinian problem or the Palestinian question. And now we start having reminiscent phrases that should remind us of our own history. So yeah, I would just say that the whole hate thing is a bit of a misleading idea. It's not necessarily about hate. It's about convincing yourself, you know what, there's nothing beautiful over there that we're bombing. There's no real people. They're just enough already. We've done everything we can with these people. And in some ways, that's more dangerous than hate is.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would like to read one question which reflects on several questions. I have important and visible roles in my Jewish community and feel I'm afraid to speak my truth for fear of losing my community. How to deal with dissonance, the fear of losing my community if I speak out. The unraveling of my Zionist indoctrination feels so painful and alienating.
Well, so very quickly, that's an issue that I've been concerned with for a long time, not specifically to do with this issue, but in human life in general. And the question that's being asked is, how can I stay authentic and true to myself and still belong? And in the book that Dan and I wrote together, The Myth of Normal, we have a chapter on attachment versus authenticity. Attachment is our need to belong, to be accepted, to be loved, to be validated, to connect. That's one need that human beings have, especially as children. And then we have another need for authenticity, to be ourselves, to be in touch with our gut feelings, to be with our hearts, to be able to manifest and express our own being and our way of seeing the world. And sometimes the two are not compatible. Sometimes a person has to choose. In order to belong, I have to suppress myself. Or in order to express myself, I have to face that I may not belong anymore, that some people will not accept me, will not love me, will reject me. And all I can say to people is, I can't tell you how to decide. You have to decide if the two are compatible. If you can go to your friends and your family and say, listen, I'm very sorry, I know this hurts you, this confuses you, this puzzles you, you don't get it, but I need to tell you how I feel, would you please listen? And if they're capable of giving you the listening and still accept you, even though they completely disagree with you or might be totally upset by what you say, then you can have the attachment and you can have the authenticity. But if you can't, then you have a decision to make. Which pain would you rather have? And I can't make that decision for you. Nobody can. Would I rather have the pain of suppressing myself and denying my own truth? Or would I rather the pain of being rejected by people that I care for? But there may not be a pain-free option. So the only decision you might be able to make in that case is, which pain would you rather have? I made that decision a long time ago. The first time I spoke about this issue was in 1967, and I got kicked out of my father's house. But I've made that decision No, we reconciled, and my father actually came around to see my view of it, to accept it. But I made that decision at every point in my life, because everything I've ever done in my medical work has been completely against the mainstream. And I had to make a decision. Do I rather belong to the mainstream and, or do I expect my truth? That doesn't make me right all the time. But it's just a decision that I made. I want to go for the authenticity whenever I can. And forget about who likes it and who doesn't. You got the same decision to make. I can't prescribe it for you. If you chose to suppress your truth to belong, I would totally understand it. I would not judge you for it. Neither should you judge yourself. But just decide, which pain would you rather have?
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabor. Daniel, I don't see you. I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I don't think Diana needs to add to this one. He helped me write that chapter.
The only thing I would add is this. When my dad first started speaking out about this, he had something to lose. His father's approval, standing in the medical community, all kinds of stuff like that. There's a lot of people who have things to lose by speaking out. I'm in this uncancelable place. I've got no concerns. So I can't advise any, there are real material conditions to, there's a great line from The Wire, that great HBO show, where Butchie, the blind bartender, says, conscience do cost. Conscience do cost. And that's really something to reckon with. Now, lack of conscience also do cost. It just costs a different kind of currency. But it's a real question. And there's, no one can prescribe the answer. I can answer one more question, and then I've got a dinner reservation.
Okay.
It's at the end of our time.
Well, do you want to keep it going a bit longer, or how do you feel about it?
If the two of
It's up
you
to
are
you.
open, absolutely.
I'll stay on for another half an hour if you guys want me to.
Awesome.
Okay?
Daniel,
Okay, go ahead. So let's take the next question so Diana can be here for it.
Daniel, you wanted to add anything? No.
No, I said it is
Okay.
an extra question, so
All right.
you ask.
I'll take one more question, and then I'll say goodbye. As much as I'd love to stay.
I would like to see Maurice Jacobson is here.
Maurice, are you around? I try to contact you. Maurice?
Maurice, still mute.
No, I guess it's...
Okay.
Oh, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay,
Can you
okay.
hear me? I'm on a computer. I'm traveling. It doesn't have a camera, so I'm sorry I can't be seeing.
We hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Well, my perspective that I would like to, throw out to this mix is that, to me, I think what we're seeing in the Middle East, in Israel, is a classic case of the abused becoming an abuser. And after traveling extensively and living in both Israel and inside the Gaza Strip, what I've heard over and over again in Israel is a real paranoia of we have to get them before they get us.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Palestinian community, especially from the young men, who I'm sure were the young men who entered into Israel, were the lines, I'd rather die fighting than die a slow death.
Mm-hmm.
And my impression, sadly, is that almost all of those young people going into Israel were going in for revenge. That every one of them, I'm sure, lost a family member, lost a loved one, they might have lost their wives, they might have lost their children. And I don't think it was ideological. I think it was primarily anger. And so I think a lot of people who look at the situation in Gaza today are angry. We're really angry that the situation got to be where it is. And you two have articulated it to a certain point that there's a 14-year-old history, and the history did not begin on October 7th.
Well, there's a 100-year-old history, but yes, I can take your point.
The point is that I'm hoping through whatever work that I can do and whatever work that other people out there who are listening to this are angry, can challenge that anger into positive action, is not just bemoan the fact that we're in a terrible situation, but do things positively through mass media, through social media, through lobbying, through protest, through boycott, in any way they can to try to change the situation. We can't just passively sit and bemoan the situation. So dealing with grief and dealing with anger is through taking positive action on yourself. So I'd love to see what your reaction is to that.
Well, I'll just say quickly before I have to sign off, amen and inshallah, like, yes, that is exactly what needs to happen. I have nothing to add to what you said because everything you said is, I think, very accurate. I would just note for the people listening that we had a gentleman, your name is Maurice Jacobson, is that right?
Correct.
Sounds like a rather Hebraic name, an Ashkenazi name.
It is, I've done Aliyah, I hold dual citizenship.
Oh, hold on a second. So just for the people listening, let's just note that we have a Jewish citizen of Israel, born in the United States, right, who has spent time where in the Gaza Strip?
I was there. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just highlighting something for people listening because I think it's really worth noting. Because one of the talking points you hear is, "Oh, okay, Mate, you're such a Palestinian ally. Why don't you go live in Gaza and see how they treat you? See how they treat Jews, you know?" And the fact is, when I asked my dad and my brother, who have both spent time in the occupied territories, did you ever feel threatened or endangered because you're a Jew? My dad said, yeah, by Israeli soldiers.
Well, that's exactly the way I felt as well.
But
After all the time I've lived there.
Hold on, Maurice. I just want to encourage people who are listening, to whom that might be a surprising fact, don't let it slide by. Let it sink in. Maybe there's something you haven't heard, or something you have heard that's not true. And I think you're absolutely right, that when you have people without a past, present, or a future, and people who are desperate and angry and full of desire for revenge, then the actions of October 7th, as barbaric or brutal as they may seem, become a lot less surprising and start to seem even inevitable, which is not to justify them, but it is to think intelligently, if, that is, we don't want it to happen again, and I certainly don't want it to happen again. With that, I gotta go and have a meal here, so thank you for having me, and if we do this again, that would be a welcome thing for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
David.
yeah.
Thank you. Really appreciate your presence.
Talk soon.
Thank you.
Enjoy your dinner. Gabor, I would like Darren. Darren, are you with us? Ask it to mute. There.
Yes.
Hi.
Oh, I said, like, peace.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sarah, can we bring Darren?
Darren, would you like to start your video?
We can spotlight Darren even without video.
Actually, that's not possible. Darren, would you like to start your video?
I can't come on video because I'm driving. I'm gonna pull over. I'm in the process of pulling over right now.
Okay.
Hi, so good to see.
We're not hearing you well. You're breaking, Darren.
Zoya, do you want to take somebody else while she gets organized?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll work on it.
It's okay.
Let's bring Daniel. Daniel
Ilka.
Hilka.
Hi there.
Hi.
Thank you for the platform, Sam and Mr. Gabor and Daniel for being here. I'm in Ecuador, actually. Vilcabamba is a little town in the south of Ecuador in the Andes Mountains. You know, the topic of this conversation is navigating difficult conversations, and it strikes me that you know, as we know, I think all of us, and certainly as Dr. Mate professes, emotions beget physiological issues and change that cause us disease and illness. And my strategy, and I wanted to get your opinion on this, Dr. Mate, is to rise above the conversation. And when I'm in conversation with people who have a strong opinion, I appeal to their sense of humanity, basically, of their sense of justice. And of course, it helps a lot if people have context and understand context. So I encourage also that they look at other sources for their information than the traditional sources that they look at. And I try to lift